Hi all, in this video we're going to look at the Dcg Ordinary Level 2017 Surface Geometry question. So that's section C, question 3, and we can see from the question it's a perfume bottle, okay? So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off by drawing the elevation and plan. I'm going to draw these up towards the top left of my page just so I have space for the development down here. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up an XY line. So again, I'm going to set that up towards the top left of the page. Now, if we look at the question here, we can see that there's a center line down the middle of the question, okay, because we have the two curves either side. So that center line is going to be pivotal to us. We're going to draw this elevation using that center line. If we see from the question that the width measurements of 60, 20 and 40, they're all based around the center line. It's like an axial symmetry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up here and I'm actually going to pick a center line. Okay, so if I come down this side, we're going to measure either side, left and right of the center line, just to make it more as easy as we can. We don't know the overall width because we don't know how far out these curves go either side. So the measurements I do know, I can see the widths here then from the question. They are 60, okay, so I'm going to go 30 either side. Then I have the top, which is 20, so that'll be 20 either side. And last but not least, I have the middle part of the neck of the bottle, and that's 20, so it'll be 10 either side. So now that I've got my width measurements in, I'm going to draw them all the way down. Why? Because again, our rule from our orthographic, whatever width it is in an elevation, it's the same width in plan. So they go all the way down. Now that's not the overall width, we know we've the curves coming left and right. The next thing to do again now is put in the height measurements. Again, if we look at our question, we can see the two height measurements, one of 70 and one of 15. So we're going to mark those off. So I'm going to measure up 70, again use my continuous measurement and add on the 15. So that'll be up to 85. I'm going to draw those light lines across. Okay, why am I drawing them all the way across? Because we're asked in part B for an end view, and what's our rules from orthographic? Whatever height it is in elevation, it's the same height in end view. Once I've that done, I've enough drawing there that I can actually draw in my elevation. So I can see that the base is 60 wide, so it's all the way across there. Next thing I can do is I can draw the top, which is 40 wide. Just be careful with all the lines, make sure we know where the center line is. Okay. So my top is 20 either side of that. Okay, so we just don't want to get confused and draw them in at the wrong lines. Next thing is the neck. Again, the neck is 20, so it'll be 10 either side of the center line, and that gets joined up to the top of the bottle. Okay, so I've those bits done. The next part is probably one of the harder parts. So this is where we need to draw in the curves. So again, if we look at our question here, we can see there's a radius 60 from the middle. But by looking at that, well, we know the radius. What we don't know is where the center of our radius is going to be. Again, if we looked at this in other questions, if we take any circle, we look at it. So the outside, the circumference of the circle, any point on the circumference to the center is always going to be the same. It's always equal, okay? What do we call the distance for the circumference to the center? We call that the radius. How can we use this in our question? Well, all we have to think about is any point for the circumference is the same distance, or any point from the circumference to the radius is always the same. So we know it's radius 60. So if we take our compass and we open up to radius 60, we know then that if we take the start and end point of our circle, so if I say that's the start and that's the end point of this arc, then the circumference goes through those. So I know again from my rule that if I measure, the center is always going to be the radius away, which is radius 60. So if I draw an arc from the end and I draw an arc from the start, where those two arcs intersect will give me the center of my arc. I'm going to join them back here then, just to show you where the start and end of this arc is. Okay, so I can see the start and the end. It's going to be in between these two lines. I'm going to put the point of my compass down now on the center point I found, and I'm going to draw in that arc. So that is how we're going to find the arc when we've got 2 points on it and the radius. Once I've done one side, I have to do the exact same the other side. So I'm going to start up at the top, put the point down, draw an arc, find the end point, point down, draw an arc where the 2 arcs intersect, gives me the center, and I'm going to join that all the way back up to the top. Once we've that done, then that is your elevation fully complete, and now we can move on to the plan. So when we're drawing the plan, then we always said that we leave about a 20-30 gap between that, and we measure down the depth. If we look at our question here, we can see the depth measurement in plan is that of 35. So I'm going to measure in my 35, and that is the depth. Now I brought these lines down here from the base. Is that the full width of this in plan? No, because if we see that these curves, we haven't brought the edges of those down. The lines we have is dealing with the base, but if we look closely as we move out the set square, there's an extra little bit here where the curve is. So I have to bring that edge down. Same on both sides. Once I've that down, now I have the actual width of this perfume bottle. So we can go ahead and draw in the plan. We know the full width of this. Okay, it's the whole way across, slightly bigger than 60. 60 was the base. The very outsides then, we indicate with a heavy line. Okay, coming down from the outsides of the arc there in elevation. Now we've all these other lines in there, but what do they mean, or what can we see, what can't we see? Well, again, if we look down, think about the plan, we're looking down from the very top. So what do I see? Well, I see the lid. Well, then let's draw in that. The lid is going to be directly underneath in plan. So I have a heavy line there and there. What's the next part underneath the lid? Well, the next part is this neck of the bottle. But can I see that in plan? Well, no, because the top of the lid is covering that. So these lines are going to appear as dotted lines. They're going to be showing that there's something underneath. We're not sure what it is in plan, but if we look closely at elevation, we can see what it is. Follow it around, we go around all the way to the outside. Yeah, we've those lines drawn in heavy. But what about the base? Well, we have to show it as a base. Again, can we see it from the top? No, because these sides of the curve are hiding it. So we're going to draw those in a dotted line also. Now that we've that done, we have the elevation and plan done. So we'll just mark off those. So the elevation and the plan. And with that, we've got part A of the question fully complete. We can then move on to the second part of the question, part B, where it asks for an end view of the perfume bottle. Now it doesn't tell us what side we have to draw the end view on. I'm going to draw it on the right hand side. Okay, so what do we do with the end view? Well, again, we should remember this from our orthographic or junior cert. We're going to bring our plan up to end view. Why is that? Because just like in elevation, we had earlier on, we had the rule for elevation to end view. Whatever height it is in elevation, it's the same height in end view. We also have our rule, whatever depth it is in plan, it's the same depth in end view. So we're just looking in here from the side of the bottle. So we bring it out at 45 degrees and bring it straight up. Again, that should be something we remember from our junior cert. So when we look in here from the left, we're looking in from the left, the end view is going on the right. Okay, again, rules we should remember. So what is it am I going to see? Well, when we look straight in here, what will we see? Well, we can tell that the overall height of this, and we can see that here. Okay, so we can draw that in. So that's the overall height, okay, from the base to the lid. We can see the overall depth because we can see that in plan. So again, I can go ahead and draw that in as a heavy line at the top and also at the bottom. Okay, is there anything else we can see? Well, when we look in here, we can see the neck of the bottle. If we left that here, my end view would indicate that there's nothing else. It's just one big flat surface, but we know that's not the case. We have a curved surface and an angled surface. So we have to tell the people that there's something going on in there. So by drawing a heavy line straight across from the neck, we have now indicated that there's two surfaces there, which we can see there is, and there's something going on between them. And again, we get that information from the elevation. So with that, we have our end view complete, and now we've got part B of the question fully done. So the next part of our question is to draw the development of that, okay? When we look at this question, again, it's similar to most of the questions that we're seeing now at ordinary level Leaving Cert DCG. It's what I would call a ribbon development. What do we mean by that? Well, we've got the front and back of the shape all the exact same, and in one of the views, this time the elevation, we can see all the edges of the object. In plan then, in our other view, we see the thickness of this. So this is the ribbon. So all these edges, or we see in elevation, have the same thickness, and this is the thickness. Again, it's very similar to our masking tape here. If we look at it, we have a front, we have a back, and it always remains the same thickness. And with our masking tape, we have the same thing. It's like a ribbon development. I can take this and open it all the way back out, okay? Again, we have a front and a back, and we've got this ribbon. And again, we can take it and it'll fold all the way back up around nice and neatly, okay? That's the exact same with this. We've got this shape on the front, and all we're going to do is peel out this in a ribbon type shape. So to get started in our ribbon development then, I'm going to draw my thickness of my ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to just pick a line here. And again, what thickness is the ribbon? Well, it's the same thickness as the plan. It's all the sides are the same, and we know from the question that that's 35. I'm going to mark off 35 and again draw a light line across. So that there is my ribbon. All I need to now figure out is how big of a ribbon is it. Well, I'm going to pick a start point. I'm going to pick it right over here in the edge of the sheet so I don't run out of space. And we want to know is, well, where are all these edges? Well, we need to pick a start point. I'm going to pick up the top of my lid. So I'm going to call that point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once you've that done, now we have a starting point. So I want to find out, well, where is the top in this ribbon? Where is this side? Where is the curve, the base? So all I have to do is decide, well, I'm going to call this point 1 here. So this is going to be the start of my ribbon development. Now, if I want to draw the lid of this, the top of this, well, how far do I come over? Well, I can see the top goes from point 1 all the way to point 2. So I'm going to take that on my compass, keep the same distance, and I'm going to mark it off from 1 to 2. Again, do one at a time and label it. So that is now point 2. So now I'm over here. What's the next surface? Well, it's the side. It's from 2 to 3. So I'm going to take that and step that out here then. There's 2 to 3. Now at this point then, we've got the top and the side done, but now I've hit this curve. What am I going to do there? Well, I can't just take this distance, okay? Why is that? Because again, if we were to draw a line there, that would be what I'd be taking with my compass. Okay, if we look at that. But that there, that distance isn't the same as the distance for the curve. So what do I need to do? Well, I can't take that curve, so I need to try and take smaller segments of that curve. Now again, in your junior cert, when we had a full circle in our developments, we would have divided up into 30 and 60 degrees or something like that. We can do that here again, but because I don't have the exact semicircle, that's just going to probably get a bit messy and it's going to take a little bit longer. What I would just suggest we do is that we divide this up into equal portions, as many as we like. The more you have, the more accurate it's going to be, but then the more time consuming it's going to be. So I'm going to pick, let's say, 5 different parts, 4 different lines. Okay, so it'll be nice and accurate. So I'm at point 3, so if I call these parts of the curve then A, B, C, and D, I need to just find those points. So this will be a lot more accurate than if I took my straight edge there. And we'll have a look at that in a minute. So if I take my distance, there's 3 to A. So there's 3 down. So there's the first point. That is A. Let's take the next one. So it's A to B. Again, the only difference between this and maybe what we would have done in our junior cert is in our junior cert, by dividing up into 30, 60, they were all equal parts. So you only had to step out one each time. Okay, and you could just take that distance and step it out 12 times or 6 times. But you can see here I have to keep going back to the question to make sure to adjust the compass to make sure I've got the right distances. Okay, so it's probably a bit more time consuming in that sense, but I feel it's the quickest way to get it done. So I've gone from D and then down to 0.4 there. Okay, so we're back down. So we've completed the curve. Now again, why did we do all this? Well, we could have taken the distance from 3 to 4, okay, and bypass all that. But if we put that down, we can see that that is short of 0.4. So it's not as accurate. The more of these segments we have, the more accurate this will be. But for our leave insert, about, you can see 4 or 5 different spaces there is more than enough. So that's 0.4. What I need to now do is keep going around so I can go on to the base. So I take the distance of 4 to 5, that's my base, and I mark that off. And then I've got my curve again. Now, alternatively, what I can do here is I can put in my lines, divide up this curve the exact same, but we should be realizing again from maybe our junior cert question 5 that this here is just like an axial symmetry. So the left, it's a mirror image, the left and right is the exact same. I could take all these points and step them off like I did over here, or alternatively, again, I know the distance from 3 to 4 is the exact same as 5 to 6. So all I'm going to do is take the distance from 3 to 4 here, because I know this curve here, and this curve here is going to be the exact same curve. They have to be the exact same size. So that will bring me from 5 up to 0.6. Okay, so this is the second curve. This is the first curve. And all I have to do then is go back 6 to 1. Don't forget, you should end up your development where you started off. Okay, so whatever point I have here, I should have the same point here. So that's 0.1. Once you've that done, you've pretty much nearly all your development done. Again, what am I going to do? I'm going to put in my different lines. So I have a solid line from one side and I have a solid line from the other. So I know that that's the start and finish of my ribbon. But what happens along all these other points? Well, if we see here from the top from 1 to 2, when it goes from then 2 to 3, this other surface, it turns. It's what we'd have is a fold. So we're going to have to fold it at 0.2. Everywhere we have a fold, we can't put in a heavy line, we have to put in a dotted line. We have to tell people to fold it. The exact same as when we go from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4, this one, we have to fold it. Okay, so we have a dot line. Again, the rules I say if I was cutting these out is heavy lines mean cut, dotted lines mean fold. That's the way I would go about it. Do I need to put 4 lines in on all these curved ones? Well, not really, because you're not folding along this curve, you're just bending it. So we're not going to fold along that. We get to 4, yeah, we're folding there, okay, because we're going from the curve over to the base. We're going at folding at 5. We have the curve again, and we're going folding at the neckline there again. So that's giving me all those. Next thing to do is to mark off the top and bottom of this ribbon. So that's the top and then the bottom. Now, you'll probably have noticed I've left a space in here. Why have I left a space there? Well, this is going to be the base. And don't forget, we have the front and the back, and we have to fold those in as well. So I'm going to put a fold line between those, because that is what we're going to have to do there. The exact same as the sides are being folded there, these are going to be folded here. So when we've that done, we can label these parts. So this is going to be the top. This here is the side, maybe on the left, sorry, the right. The next one is the curve. So if we follow it down here on the right hand side, so this is the curve on the right. This is the base. This here then, on this side, we call this the curve on the left, okay? And we have the side on the left. So with that much, we've got the ribbon development done. What we have to look at next is the front and back of the development. To do that, we need to redraw the elevation connected to the base. Okay, so we have to have the back and then we have to fit in the front. But again, it's the exact same shape, so we're going to just take this exactly as we took the elevation and redraw it the exact same way. So what we're going to look at then is, we can see that the base here is 60. So what did we do? Well, we had a center line. Okay, so I'm going to put in my center line again. And I'm going to draw it all the way down. Why am I drawing it all the way down? Well, we have a back and a front and they're the exact same. So we're going to just put in these measurements once and it'll make life easier for us. Next thing to do is to put in the lid, which is 20 either side, 40 altogether. And then we've got the neckline, which is 10 either side, 20 altogether. Okay, so I can draw those again, drawing them lightly all the way down, because we need them at the bottom down here for the front, as like we need them at the top here for the back. What did we do next? We put in our height. So what was our height? Well, our height was 70 and then we had a 15. So I'm going to mark off 70 and I'm going to mark off another 15. Okay, and again I can draw those lightly across here. Once you've that done, I'm going to just extend up these lines. I'm going to need them up there. We have basically everything we need to do to draw in the elevation at the back here, which would be the back of our perfume bottle. So I'm going to start in the top again. So from 1 to 2, so the top of the perfume bottle, which is 40 wide. So we've marked that off. What happens then? 1 goes down to 6, and that there is the angle line. Just like 2 goes down to 3, and that's here. Okay. What did we do then? Well, the next thing we had to do is we had to draw in the curves. To draw the curves, we had to find the center. How do we find the center? Well, what we had to do is we had to open up 60 on our compass. Okay. And when we had that done, we had to go from the start of the curve to the end of the curve. Put the points the compass down, swing an arc. Same down here. That gave me the center where I could put the point of my compass, open it up and draw in that curve nice and neatly. Okay. I do the exact same on this side. Point the compass down, swing an arc, point the compass down, swing an arc. Where the 2 arcs meet, point the compass at the center, open it up to draw in the arc then on the left. Okay, so again, once you've that done, that allows us to see the back of our development. Okay. We need to do the exact same thing now to the front. The only difference here is that it's a mirror image again. So again, it's like we're flipping this over. We have to have, just like here, the base connected to the base. So the top of the perfume bottle is going to be down this way. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to measure down 70 and then down 15. So from the baseline. Okay, so that's the only place we could get confused here. I'm going to draw my light lines across again that I need to draw the neck of this bottle. And once I've that done, again, I've all the information I need to go ahead and draw this part of the development, the front. So I'm going to start at the top again. So it's 40 over. What happens then? I have to go an angle line down to the neck. Okay, and there is that side. What do I need to do then? I'm back to needing to find to draw these curves. So again, on this side, points the compass at the start of it. Points the compass at the ends, swing an arc, put the points the compass where the arcs meet, that's going to be the center, and I draw in the arc on the right hand side. Okay, I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. Points the compass at the start now, at the top, put the compass at the end now, the bottom, where the 2 arcs meet gives you the center, points the compass in there, and swing down your arcs. So if you do one side, one arc at a time, you won't get too confused about where you're putting the points of the compass. When we've that done, that's the front. And at that stage, that is our development complete. We're just going to renumber some of these parts to make it easier for you. So if you see here, that's point 4. So what happens then? All these points have to join up along this curve. So this point up here is point 3. What happens then? We've got the angle side here. that's 0.2. So this side has to match up here. And then we've got the top, 2 to 1. If we look on this side, 5 has to wrap all the way around to 6. And then 6 back to 1. Okay, so we can all line up. Again, if I was just to look at this side, then this green surface here, this green part of my curve, so my curve on the left, has to join up with this curve here on the left as well. Okay, so I'm just going to shade that in green. So that edge should match up neatly to this edge here, which again should match neatly to this curve up here. The exact same as on the left happens on the right. We have this yellow surface here, the curve on the right, and that should match up to this side here. It's going to swing in to this curve up here, and that curve there has to be the exact same length as this side here. Just as on the front is the exact same, this side here has to match up to this curve here at the front. Okay, again, hopefully that kind of just makes things a bit clearer for you. If we were to look at the sides, then I could say that this side here from 2 to 3, which is the blue surface, what's that have to match up to? Well, that has to match up to 2 to 3 up here, which is this part up here, or again, which is this part up here. Okay, so hopefully some of these bits of color will make things easier for you. If we just do one more and we say, right, well, where's the top? Well, this is the top in red. What does the top have to match up to? It has to match up to 1 to 2 up here. Okay, the exact same as it has to match 1 to 2 up here. The exact same as it's going to match 1 to 2 up here. Okay, so hopefully those bits of color and things like that makes this question a little bit easier for you to follow. So that there is the 2017 DCG Ordinary Level Surface Geometry question. That's section C, question 3. Hopefully this helps you with your revision and with your homework. Good luck.